Taylor.
Hello, welcome to Back Pocket, the somewhat daily backup for Monday, the 5th of October. I'm your host,
Is
Nick
it?
Boy Richardson. Isn't it? Yeah, it's the 5th.
No, yeah, but it just shocked me.
Oh, right, yes, yeah. Well, now you're scared. Now you've totally thrown me off.
Welcome to the somewhat daily backup for the 5th of October. I am your new host, Peter the Woodsman Burns. And with me today is Nicholas the Standing Man. He likes to stand. He'll never sit down again. That's a promise that he's made to you through me.
Huh? The whole work from home thing is very fun because on the OPL, just a big recurring bit of mine is I refuse to
Tanty
work,
on the bed?
then I just walk off. Or I have a tantrum on the bed. One of those two things. And it's like in a studio environment, there's something very unprofessional about that. But in your house, it's like, well, I decide what's professional in this area. You know, like it's like how people go
When you're recording a broadcast under my roof.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah,
welcome everybody.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I'm still on that train. It's your space. You feel more comfortable in it.
Exactly.
I intentionally make you feel uncomfortable in the studio so you never walk away from set.
It's true. It's true. And you also strap me to the chair. Those are the two things that you do. Welcome everybody to the Somewhat Daily Backup, the news show for Back Pocket. We're excited to have you back with us, and we've got a ton to get through today. We've got lots of bitsy stuff. None of it is phenomenal, but there's just lots of little bits. Before we get to that, though, we do need to shout out the Pocketeer Patreon extraordinaire, and today that is Mitch Smith. Mitch Smith, one of our beloved patrons. Mitch, may you never be forced to play a game on camera where they don't explain the controls to you and instead just say press the select button when they actually mean click the left stick. Mitch, I hope that never happens to you. And if it does, I'd like to see a copy of that video. That will make sense tomorrow to all of you. But I will say that when you release a game, like an old game, I just feel like you should start that game with a very quick overview of the controls. Even if it's just a splash page to go, well, this game was designed with an entirely different controller in mind than what you have in your hands right now, be it mouse and keyboard, be it controller. And here's how you would play it in 2020.
Yeah, I think everyone should follow the lead of Paradise Killer and just make their launch screen a controller with button mapping on it.
Absolutely. That is absolutely what
Game of the year.
It should be the front cover of your game if it's a physical release as well. That should be what's on the storefront. I mean, without the controls, you could make an argument. Could you make an argument that the most important thing about a video game is the controls?
Yes.
That if you don't know the controls, you can't play the game. It's almost more important than the graphics or the sound.
I would say that a game that is made well should have intuitive controls.
That's true.
So you shouldn't need to see what the buttons are. I always find it funny we haven't done this for a while, but when we used to go to press events to shoot, they have laminated copies of the button mapping, and they tape it to the table in front of you, and it's like, this is how you play.
Yeah, totally.
Don't fuck around.
Which is excellent and helpful, of course. But it is that thing where you look at it, and I guess this is why they don't do it as well. You look at it, and you go, there's so many things to remember. Oh my god! But yeah, there you go. All right, we've spoken enough about me playing Metal Gear Solid and not knowing the controls. It's time to talk about the news, and we can't talk about the news without talking about our favorite Pocketeer, and that is Tim from the Learn Programming Academy, who, of course, is bringing you the news in all of its glory. The backup sponsored by Tim. Get your exclamation mark Tims out in the chat or the comments for the Learn Programming Academy. If you go to lpa.dev/backpocket, you can learn all you need to learn about Tim, and Tim wants you to learn all you can about programming. I implore, encourage, entice, excite you to go to the Learn Programming Academy. Threaten. That's actually more on brand for me. The pleading and the imploring, that's not me. That's Gus. Gus is like John Turturro in Miller's Crossing, where he's on his knees in the forest and someone's got a gun to his head. And he's please.
Oh, man. I don't need that image. John Turturro is such a sweet man in the roles that he plays. He might be an arsehole, but he's so sweet on camera.
I know.
He looks like he needs help.
He does all the time. He always looks like he needs help. That's so true.
Can I help you walk across the road, sir?
Yeah, That's so true. So if you, sorry, Tim, that we were talking about executing gangsters in the forest. If you want to learn programming, then head to the Learn Programming Academy. There are over, I actually don't know how many courses there are. Tim hasn't given me that information, but he has told me that they're mainly $20 or less. They're all video, and he's taught over 1 million students. And to my knowledge, Tim has not executed a single one of those students. So if you don't want to get executed by a man named Tim, then Tim from the Learn Programming Academy is the Tim you don't want to be executed by.
We also don't know that for a fact either. So
that's a very good
behave.
point.
If you take a course, behave.
That's a very good point. Tim's
Do your
nephew,
homework.
if you're in chat right now, and I'm sure you are, has your uncle...
Got a tattoo of a teardrop under his eye.
Yeah, does he have that? Because if he does, then I would say that he's not your uncle, he's your uncle. And you need to be very careful. All right, let's jump into the news. And starting it off, PS5 gameplay and consoles given to Japanese influencers and not back pocket. That is the headline that was on Kotaku.
Yeah.
So
shock horror. Back pocket yet to receive console while Japanese gamers play with the console. Look at this bullshit.
Look at this bullshit. Look at the size of all of this. I mean, this might be a very small Japanese boy, but this is a huge console. And even the controller is enormous.
It looks
in his
big.
Hand.
That excites me because I have broad hands.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it's broader than my face. And so I've always liked the Duke. Like, I've always liked big controllers.
Yep.
Which I know put some people off. And it's why some people prefer a PlayStation controller, DualShocks over the years to the Xbox, because it's like, it is smaller, slimmer in the hands. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things I haven't liked about the controller. It felt too small.
I agree.
So I reckon this could be a really nice little one for me, but perhaps too big for Japanese hands, as we're seeing in the video.
I am excited by the size of the controller because I agree. I think that I've never enjoyed holding a PlayStation controller. I don't think I've ever done it. I don't like the symmetry. I don't like the size. I want something big and beefy. I'm worried about the length that it sticks out the bottom of my hand here, like whether or not it's going to be, I'm just going to have long stalactites hanging off the bottom of it.
Yeah.
The mics go up and the tights go down.
Yeah. That's what I remember that as well, because tight means it's top, which means it's up at the top. It's above you.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
That's how I did it in school.
But when some of these Japanese YouTubers and influencers got their hands on the game, they got to play Astro's Playroom, which you're seeing right here, right now, in Godfall and Devil May Cry. But Astro's, I feel like this is one of those games that people aren't talking about because it's just included in the PS5. It's like a pack-in. And really, it's a bit like a tech demo. It's set inside the PlayStation. But I loved Astrobot. Astrobot was a phenomenal game. And I think that these guys know how to make an entertaining video game, even if it is a tech demo that is selling the features of a console.
Yeah, I guess my only aversion to it is that it looks like, and it's not fair, but if Nintendo has Mario to do this thing, and PlayStation has Astrobot loses every time.
Yeah, right.
It's just the design of it is so uninteresting. It's coins with a PlayStation logo on it. Yep. It's like it feels like a tech demo, and it will never not feel like just a shitty mascot running around. But I mean, the gameplay does look like at least well done.
You don't need to be nice
skating around nice.
It's fine.
No, it's not a console mover, which I think it's great that it's free. And I'm sure I'll tinker around with it. I doubt I'll play through it because I don't think it'll be that fun. And I don't think there's anything in here that's gonna I don't even think anything. It's hard because there's YouTube compression, but there's nothing in this that goes this is a next gen tech demo as well. It just looks like it could be on PS4 today.
Well, my understanding is a lot of the tech demo-ness of it is about the controller and about the DualSense and how it feels in your hand and the feedback and the sound and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the stuff is you can't experience it without getting hands-on. But yes, I agree. It doesn't look like anything that you couldn't have played on the PS4.
The thing that I love in all these demos, and I'm not sure if it's in this exact one that we're watching, the there's a little windmill and you have to blow into the bottom of the controller, and it's like,
Yep.
they've been trying to make that happen for so many years.
The 3DS did that.
Yeah, it's like, no one wants to blow on the controller.
No, they don't. No one wants to do that. No one wants their partner to walk into the room and you're there going. That's humiliating. I think so. Yeah, I mean, I agree that the game it's not a system mover. I feel like people slept on Astrobot Rescue Mission, and it was just a phenomenally fun platformer. And I think that this game could have a lot of that as well. It like Astrobot felt really good to play, so we might have the same thing here, where it's one of those games where, you know, we haven't seen everything that it has to offer, and apparently it's kind of full campaigning in terms of, like, you know, 7-8 hours, whatever. But it could be really fun to play. The real thing, though, I agree that I think Astrobot is, in theory, cute because he's got a big TV face and a little body. Like, it's perfect mascot stuff. But what people aren't talking about is that Sackboy has been replaced as the PlayStation mascot. And Sackboy shits all over Astrobot in terms of personality.
They're the same dimensions as well. Same head to foot ratio.
Do you think that a reveal at the end of this game might be that he unzips the suit and takes off the helmet and it's Sackboy?
Oh, I don't dislike that. This is all made in dreams. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, totally. There you go. That looks fabricy.
And through a mask as well. The world we live in.
That's so funny. Look at him. Look at him go. And the problem with that is it's literally just a gimmick. It's not like it's either that or it's going to humiliate people who have asthma. Like, there's no you didn't do this well enough. It's just, can you breathe? If you can't breathe, yeah, totally. And if you can't breathe, then you've got much bigger problems than not making it through this part of the Astrobot show. But yeah, I just loved Sackboy. I think Sackboy was kind of up there in terms of Mario, where you just go, this is a really iconic looking thing. The whole the theming of the Little Big Planet games just felt like, this is something that you can put a real stamp behind. And you're right, this actually looks like an Unreal Engine demo. Except,
I mean, it doesn't even look like that. It's like, it's just covered in blue PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's just too, like, Nintendo made good Mario games, and that allowed Mario to become the mascot of Nintendo, not the other way around.
Yes.
PlayStation went, let's make the mascot game, and then we just have to hope that this is good. And, like, it looks fine, but it doesn't look like it's particularly new. It's servicing tech demoing and controller function. So it's like, all right, don't need any more. What did we need? Oh, we needed Coke.
We needed Coke.
Let me skip through this, because here's Godfall. And contrary to, I think, what everyone on the planet is saying, it looks like this will get released.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking.
We can see it running here. It looks very final. So there you go.
What are the chances that this game actually comes out when all we've heard about is that it will not come out?
Yeah, it's wild that they still have stuff to show when they've already, presumably behind closed doors, cancelled it.
I guess they're leaving it until the very last minute. Maybe that's the real surprise. Like, people have been talking about how there aren't any games for these launch consoles, and maybe it is that they go, well, let's lean into that news, and on the day of release, let's announce that actually one of them is gone. And that's very exciting. Yeah, that's an exciting...
Play into what the market is talking about.
Totally. I'm just going to get this delivered to our office, which is right there.
Very nice. I would say this looks fun as it always has. It looks like arcadey slashing, maybe a little bit deeper than that, but it's like very shiny. Hopefully it's got a bit of Borderlands chewed in it. Being Gearbox, it's definitely got floppy weapons, so seeing everyone bugging out on the ground. But it's like, just put particles in wherever you can. There's going to be when metal hits metal, shring! There's when someone hits the ground explodes up into a puff. When people die, they explode into, like, they turn into angel dust and float away. So
I still think there could be something to this game. I'm basing it on nothing other than the fact that they really seem to be going for it hard with this, that this is one of the games that they're showing off. I feel like it must have something to it that they're sort of going this hard behind it, as opposed to, say, something like a Demon Souls as being the game that you're showing off. Maybe there's a level of difficulty getting into a game like Demon Souls that if you're handing it over as a demo to people who've never played a Souls game, then it's like, well, this is fucked. But
that's a good point.
But like they've been pushing Godfall pretty hard, so maybe there is something to it. Regardless, what we should do is make Gus play the entire game.
Absolutely, yeah.
He should do the playthrough for that and just do the whole game.
I mean, he just got. I mean, I think he was on low health, but he got like killed by that boss pretty hard. Then. It does look like it feels good. I don't know. It's hard to say without touching it, but it does look like it feels like heavy and
totally
like it looks like a good weight. But someone said this is like Rise Son of Rome. Yeah, I guess Rise Son of Rome I thought was fun because it was beautiful, and maybe that'll be the case here as well. But this looks more like a game, and it's Gearbox, right? Like they're gonna put some effort into it.
I mean, but at the same time, Gearbox also did Battleborn. So I mean, and I guess they did put effort into Battleborn. It just didn't turn.
Battleborn was fun. It was just like bad release window. It was like Overwatch was better as a team combat thing.
Yeah, and
I can't remember what else was out. Something else was out. There's better like wave mode shooter thing, and it was like okay.
All right, well, we'll see. It's cool to see some gameplay. That controller looks nice. I really like the look of that controller.
Oh, sorry.
And
I just took it away from you.
No, that's fine. And so, we're barreling towards it. We're nearly a month away. It's a month and 7 days or whatever it is, like very, very soon. We'll see. Moving on with more PlayStation news now, and the Spider-Man remaster, which was making news at the end of last week. Spider-Man remaster coming out for PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 4 game looks great. It just doesn't look great if you're the guy who was the original Spider-Man's face model, because they have redone the face of Spider-Man. They've changed a lot here, and it seems like the lighting is one thing that they've sort of focused on more.
Turned more lights on.
Yeah, they're like us on Thursday.
I would say it doesn't look better. It looks flatter.
It looks, yes, that's true. But it looks brighter. But the big thing, obviously, is that they changed Peter Parker's face. And I saw a lot of anger about this and a lot of confusion. And I definitely understand the confusion. The reason that PlayStation gave was that they wanted a face that better matched the facial capture done by the voice actor of Yuri Lowenthal. But I will say, Peter...
say it.
I prefer the new guy.
In what way? Sexual attraction?
No.
General aesthetic?
He looks more like a human.
His hair sweeps the other direction. That's what shits me the most.
It's a very big
Change
choice,
the face as much as you want, but his hair is sweeping to the right side of his forehead instead of the left, and that's fucked.
Like Spider-Man with that hair sweep, Spider-Man has to always be swinging to the left. For that to make sense. No, I guess the thing is that I saw people get upset because the new guy looks younger, and this Spider-Man was supposed to have been Spider-Man for a while, like not in school. But I guess it's just that I didn't like and I remember when I played the game, I was like, the guy, Spider-Man's face, Peter Parker's face didn't look like a person. It looks like someone had made a face. Does that make sense? I looked at it and I'm like, I can't imagine seeing that face on a human being, whereas at least I can see a person in the new face.
That's a weird interpretation. I'm not trying to invalidate the interpretation. I don't look at it and go like that looks like a made up face. But sure, it's weird because their justification getting it closer to the look of the voice actor, that's cool. It really doesn't matter. You wear a mask for most of the game. You're Spider-Man. But it's a weird thing to cause controversy because who gives a shit?
Well, isn't it? It's one of those things of like, it's a weird thing to cause controversy, but at the same time, it's a weird thing to do. So it's kind of weird on both sides. I can see why people are upset. No, I can't see why people are upset. But I guess if you went like, he's not as beloved as Geralt. But if they just changed Geralt's face all of a sudden to be not just like, oh, we've got better technology, so now it looks more real, to actually be, oh, a different actor is modeling the face, you would go, oh, that's weird. But yeah.
I think, there's a justification, though, of like, if there was a new actor, it's like, okay, and we assume that we're going to be with this version of James Bond for the next 3 installments of the films. You know, it's like, you can buy that. Whereas this is like, they've just remade Thunderball with Roger Moore.
Absolutely. I'm seeing people say that they did change Geralt's face between all 3 games. But I feel like, well, actually, no, that's very true. 1 to 2 particularly was a very big change. I feel like 2 to 3 was actually just like technology catching up and being able to do. But yes, in 1, he looks almost completely different. But it is... No, it still tracks. The eyes are still the same. It still tracks the whole way through. You're wrong, everybody. Anyway, so but the other bad part of this is that very predictably, the game director, Brian Intihar, came out and said, to our Spidey fans, I totally appreciate your passion, but sending me threatening notes that you will, quote, hunt me down and we will find you, you fix this now, isn't cool. With what is happening in the world today, let's be a force for good and respectful of each other. Thank you. And let's not send death threats to people because they changed the look of a character. But I know you think that my justification is weird. I think my justification...
I'll bring it back up.
Is the actual justification for the studio as well, because I reckon that they've been looking at it and gone, we didn't nail the look of this face and we have to continue making games around this face, and that would be so annoying. That it would just suck if every, it's like, I guess the equivalent would be like if you didn't like your set, like if we didn't like our set, we would be looking at it and every time we're like, oh God. It's like the table on Screenplay, where we just went, I can't believe we fucking are stuck with this table. This is ridiculous, this table. And every time I look at the show, I'm like, oh, that fucking table. And so that's what this is. He's the table, and they got a new table. They got a new table.
Okay. Yeah.
Have I spoken enough about it?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. They're both pretty generic. It never mattered to me when I was playing through that Spider-Man game what he looked like. So I don't care now. And I feel like it's a weird thing to change the face. And yeah, I reckon you're right that they're like, well, if we're going to commit to remastering this and potentially making content that features this character more in Miles Morales and maybe some other DLC or future releases, it's like, let's get something we're happy with. And I would say the closest thing I've been to being like, yeah, that's absolutely a good reason to change, is that watching him in motion in this cutscene, I'm like, yeah, the original version of him looks old for Spider-Man. Probably the right age for like any normal person who's like this up in like some crazy tech science like organization, but like it's Spider-Man. He's a genius from when he's a kid, right? So like he looks younger on the right, and I dig that.
You dig the younger Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In this universe, everything for Spider-Man just happened 5 years earlier. So he actually got bit by the radioactive spider when he was 8.
Oh, and then Endgame happened.
What?
No. Whatever. Don't they disappear for 5 years? I don't know.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
They don't time travel back though. But he's 5 years from the past.
Yeah.
When he comes back, I don't remember.
All right, good chat. Moving on now. Hyperscape is hard, difficult to get into, and boring, according to its own developer, Ubisoft. So,
I was about to say, you should be a little more fair, but it's them.
In an update posted a couple of days ago, Ubisoft acknowledged that, quote, we were not able to achieve the high expectations we set for ourselves with the full release of Hyperscape on consoles that followed in August, and the players felt the same way. And so the Ubisoft development team are restructuring into a cell-based format, which is similar to the setup that they have for the developers on Siege. And so each development cell will now focus on one of the 5 pillars of the game that Ubisoft have identified are the key priorities to make Hyperscape successful in the future. according to the blog post that they put out, the first is combat comfort, where the floor of the combat is too high. Like the difficulty for the ceiling is quite high, but it's just very difficult to get in at the beginning. At the base, you need to be really good just to play. So they want to change that. The onboarding is not great, and you don't have enough time and training to get into it. The game modes aren't right. They're too unforgiving, and they don't really work that well. The player goals, there's not enough medium and long-term goals to keep you stuck into Hyperscape. You kind of achieve what you want to do, and then the only reason you're coming back is that, I want to play more Hyperscape, not I'm drawn into this idea of like achieving something. And then finally the cross-play, they wanted to add that earlier, but it's not working right now. So it's kind of like every aspect of the game, Peter.
There's not a single thing that works. Yeah,
have you played it?
I played like during that launch weekend or whatever, and I would say everything about the look of all these trailers is like, yeah, this totally is a game for me. But when I was playing it, I was just, I don't know what it is. It's hard to put my finger on it. It could be one of all of those 50 things that Ubisoft themselves list as not working. But I think it's a world design thing that doesn't gel with me. I feel like the shooting felt okay when you had the right weapons, and I kind of liked how you upgrade your weapons, and the combat felt, like good hit scanny kind of combat. And there's this weird thing where you can put yourself in a hamster ball, like Overwatch.
Hey,
which was cool. But I think it feels a bit messy in real worlds. I don't know if they've gone too realistic with the world design, that it just feels like in a game that is hyper real, Hyperscape, but it's like PUBG works because it feels like a real war-torn place.
Yep.
And Fortnite works because it feels like a big fantasy world with candy canes and lollipops.
Yep.
And this doesn't know where it sits in between all that. And just, I don't know. Maybe, I think that's probably what didn't gel the most for me, that I'm running through up 4 flights of stairs in an apartment block to then put myself in a hamster ball and bounce out the window kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, that's a very interesting point. I reckon that's part of the Frenchness. Every time something weird happens in a Ubisoft game, I'm like, it's because it's mainly French, and that they just have a slightly different sense of humor and tone. Like, you look at Watch Dogs, and whenever I play a Watch Dogs game, it's like set in the real world and everything's pretty grand, and then there's just weird shit that happens in that game where you just go, why is this choice being made right now? Like, and it's because it's a quirky French sense of humor. It is interesting that I feel like maybe they if it's this much of a problem, it could be that they've put the game out a bit too early to capitalize in on the battle royale thing. It's difficult because there's tons of Ubisoft games that I really, really like, but at the same time they seem to be falling into this habit of releasing games that aren't right at launch and then just figuring out as they go. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess like the fact that they seem to be fixing, it happened with Rainbow Six Siege, it happened with Breakpoint, it happened with Division 2, it's happening with Hyperscape, that they put them out and they go, well, here you go, enjoy, and then we're going to just try to make this work. And it's laudable, I guess, that they do try to make them work, but I guess there is a small part of me where I'm a bit cynical of like, well, why didn't you just playtest this more? Why didn't you just get this better before you released it?
Yeah.
And jeopardize your play and burn some goodwill, I guess, with your audience.
Totally, because like I have no interest in playing this. I don't care how much they fix it. It's like the hype of that window is gone, and like seasons later, it's going to take something really drastic to get me to boot it up again.
Yep.
And you're totally right about like it's becoming like the MO of Ubisoft to release these things that they change. And I feel like from all those games you described when I was thinking about it, it's like they release the version that feels like the corporate version of like, because a lot of those things are, this is trying to tap into a particular market. The Division was trying to be like, it's like they're just working towards company goals as opposed to creative goals.
Well, that was their first sort of live servicey big push into like Destiny style living game.
Yeah. And so it's like they release a thing that technically works, and then they are forced to find the creative hooks and the personality to the game after launch. Like, we're seeing Rainbow Six become this totally different game now with like underwater scuba diver people, and it's in space now, and there's robots and stuff. And it's like, because the core gameplay was good, that game survived that awkward teen period after launch, and now it's thriving. Whereas something like this is like, it's struggling because it's not a good enough game to survive that window where they're trying to find out what they want to do with the battle royale genre. They just released a battle royale game, and now they're like, and how do we make it a good, creative, interesting game? And it's like, sticky grenades isn't it. It's like, just, like, little things aren't enough. It needs to stand out, and it doesn't really.
That's a very good point about sort of getting in on a gameplay space as being like, we need a blank, and so therefore here is your blank, and then we will figure out how to make it good. I think they're pretty good at figuring out how to make something good. That it happened with the Tom Clancy, it was Breakpoint or Ghost Recon, Wildlands, one of those two, I think it was Wildlands, like, ended up being very popular because they just dedicated to it. Obviously Siege being the big example of how that game got fixed. And also, I would say that it seems to happen with their games as a service games as opposed to their single player games. That you go, the single player games, say what you will about Assassin's Creed, about like how the icons on maps and, repetitive and whatever, but those games are always pretty solid, and I would argue I always really enjoy them. At least has a very cool idea behind it. Like, things like, we don't know how that play in terms of a very clear concept that they're going, well, this stands out for this reason. And then you look at Immortals Phoenix Rising that we've played, and we go, this felt really fun to play. This feels like a game where they had an idea and they sort of executed on that idea. And so with the single player stuff, it's like the creative vision is there, and with this sort of multiplayer, we're just going to jump into this space and sort of put our flag down and then figure out what to draw on our flag once we've planted it. That's a good point. So we'll see how they end up changing that game. But I don't know what the window is for something like a battle royale. I feel like when you've got so much competition in this space, I feel like you really only have one shot to really get it right. So,
and you look at something like Apex Legends, which launched and took over the scene, and then has obviously dropped pretty dramatically in its popularity, but it's cornered off a portion of the battle royale market. It owns that space. It's always had personality, and it's always felt really good to play. So now they're just servicing their core, as opposed to trying to go broad catch-all.
Totally.
And Ubisoft is still in broad catch-all with Hyperscape, and I guess that is also a thing that stops them from being able to hone it down into the thing that will make it distinct.
Well, we'll see how Hyperscape ends up turning out. Moving on to something that was a pretty welcome surprise, actually, at the end of last week. Oh my god, I just
went fucking live with that.
It's just more Hyperscape.
No, it was I moved to a scene that we didn't want to see.
We didn't want to see that scene. You saw behind the scenes there too much.
Yeah.
You saw what we look like without overlays. Oh my god.
It's horrible.
Not horrible. Twitch soundtrack. Pretty cool idea, I feel like. So Twitch, there'd been a lot of news about how the music licensing rules had changed, and that people were getting copyright flags on just playing music on their stream, and that was something that was pretty devastating to a lot of the Twitch community, not just because people like to play music on their stream while they're playing, but also a lot of people use Twitch to play music, to be musicians, to do remixes, to do live performances of songs in a way that's not trying to steal music, but is trying to celebrate the music that they're playing. Twitch had to end up clamping down hard on that stuff, and they have now announced Twitch Soundtrack as a way to start getting some music back into your streams. This doesn't fix the people who are musicians who want to perform covers of songs, but it does fix the people who want to listen to some music while they're playing. Soundtrack is a new product that allows streamers to play music while they're live, and the way it does it is that it actually adds a extra channel, like an audio channel, to your stream where you can play a bunch of pre-authorized music, and then when it goes to the VOD, they just strip that channel out, so it never gets baked into the actual recording of your stream. It doesn't get baked into the recording of your OBS. It doesn't get baked into anything. And so therefore it doesn't hit any sort of future copyright flags going along. It does mean that if you're sitting there humming and singing along to songs, that's going to sound much weirder when you watch a VOD and that song isn't being heard in the background. But it is an interesting solution, Pete, to being able to play some music on stream.
Look at this heresy in the bottom corner of our screen right now, though. I stand with Rotful lol. Disgraceful.
This is ridiculous. This person should be banned from Patreon. I'm going to find out who this is.
Yeah, it is great. It is great, and it is, I think, long-sighted. When I first heard about it, and he's like, I mean, there's not really any vision to show because it's all an audio thing, but it looks like it'll be like a Spotify kind of setup with stations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When I first heard about it and that it's in a separate track and then it's going to remove it from your VOD, I'm like, well, why couldn't Twitch, Amazon, I mean, Amazon they own artists as well. They have Amazon Music. Why can't they just own that copyright and let people like use music and it lives in Twitch streams? But leaving it as a separate track that gets pushed off gives like labels like Sony, Universal a reason to jump into that license pool. Amazon will pay a fee for them to be able to use the music. And probably, I'm not sure what the deal structure is going to be, but then for it to not be backed up on VODs and then ending up on YouTube and stuff like that, it makes it easier for those labels to get on board. Which I think is a good thing. Because initially I was like, well, why not just go to YouTube's reasonably extensive copyright-free music library right now and go and download some stuff that's going to live on VODs and you can play it through your like Fubar or whatever while you're live. And it's generic music, but it's like license-free and some of it's decent. But this is like, if they get decent artists on board, like we can see right now under rap, Snot's already signed up, ladies and gentlemen.
Snot's in.
So you got to get into it. I'm sure we'll see. I'm sure we'll see a bit of a floodgate open when they sign an Ed Sheeran or whoever, and suddenly it's like, oh well, we should all be on that if we can make $1 like we do through Spotify. Like, you know, and literally just $1 from 1 billion plays or whatever, but at least they get at least they get $2 from the 1 billion plays on Twitch and the 1 billion plays on Spotify. So look at the chat.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Fubar, Friendly Jordy's live. Fubar, lol, what? Fubar is still the best music player on a computer.
What is Fubar?
Fubar 2000. It's a music player. It's like, I mean, I would still be using Winamp. But the user interface of Winamp is just...
You are exhausting.
Disgusting.
You are an exhausting... Oh my God, Fubar 2020. The latest update was 4 days ago.
Yeah.
This is still being
supported. Updated? Yeah. And it's like, it's got great EQ. It's got great, like, simple, effective functionality. Drag and drop. Repeating playlists, building playlists. I mean, what's everyone else using? iTunes like a fucking loser?
No.
What are people using? They're just using Spotify. They're just
using Spotify. Music. Everyone's using Spotify. And cue all the fucking Android users in the chat. Go, I don't use Spotify. I use some third party weird.
I use Google Play one because I pay for it already. So why not?
You already do. You're that guy. I think you're right with the Twitch stuff that it is a long play on this, and I think that there are other implications which I feel like it opens up. The group of artists are very small. Obviously, Snot would be not featured if it was a huge group. But they did say that they're starting off with this small indie label stuff, and then they're going to expand it if it works. And that it also means that there's going to be a bunch of songs and musicians who you have never been exposed to, like Snot, who potentially could get the big break on Twitch by being featured in a lot of streamers' streams, and you haven't heard that music anywhere else. And so it's kind of, this becomes a place in the same way that when like SoundCloud, where you just go,
YouTube first launched.
Totally, yeah. Like Justin Bieber being discovered on YouTube and all that sort of stuff, where you go, well, that would be, Twitch could be the next space for that.
Yeah.
And then it's also kind of future-proofing, just in case things change with music laws, that you go, we can just pull this stuff out and it doesn't really matter. So it's a very interesting solution, and I'm keen to see how it turns out. Moving on, very quick with this one. There's a hashtag going around, which is Blocktober, where developers show behind-the-scenes stuff of games that they're working on. And I just wanted to show, I mean, really, I'm just doing this to show Gus. And I thought, instead of just sending it to Gus, I would force it into the show that we make and assume that Gus will watch at some point. But a peek behind the Hades curtain and seeing how they put part of the game together. There's this great tweet thread with one of the level designers just showing off bits and pieces. And Pete, you can just click on literally any video on the page. And just seeing how, like this one in particular, of just how these levels get put together. Grey box at the beginning, they're just putting in the main features, the most important interactive stuff in the level, how these levels get designed and created, and then the art suddenly smashing in at the end and making everything incredibly beautiful. And there's lots of just...
Oh, yeah.
And there's lots of really interesting stuff in this tweet thread, which I encourage you to just go to Ed Gorenstein's Twitter account and check it out. But things like the enemy placement and spawn points, seeing where they're getting laid out. There's a really great one if you go down to it's the barge, where the barge is moving, and maybe it will be I think it's the one. It's 2 under that. So keep going down, keep going down, keep going down. Should go show thread.
Yeah, right. There's more.
And that one. So that, I love the fact that they wanted the sort of hell area to feel very, very expansive.
Yeah, wow.
So
zoom out a bit.
Yeah, so when you're fighting on that, everything is just moving and repeating around you, and and where you dock is just floating along with you until you finish that fight, and then it joins up. And there's just really interesting stuff like that I love. And so that Blocktober hashtag, I said Blocktober before, I think, that Blocktober hashtag is floating around, and it's definitely worth looking because there's heaps of cool behind the scenes dev stuff on there. So that's a good way to spend 45 minutes while you're doing a 45-minute poop.
And while you're on Twitter, also, I would recommend looking at the hashtag Proud Boys because the gays have taken it back.
Really?
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent.
Right now. Oh my god, that is so funny.
A lot of hunky men making out. I love it.
The first thing is George Takei hugging his husband.
Yeah.
That is, oh yeah, this is a phenomenal thread. There is one, it is 5 bears who are all dressed like Wonder Woman, and it just, oh my god. Pete, I'm sending this to you. We got to show.
Oh, we got to show it? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's coming in now.
Where are you sending it?
Slack, just a direct message to you on Slack.
Yeah, cool.
We've got 5, I assume they're bears. 2 of them are incredibly hairy. Dressed up as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And the Proud Boys are on standby. That's a great move. Well done. Well done, Internet. You finally did something good today.
And you know where it came from? It came from...
There they are.
There they are. It came from the... it was K-pop... which hashtag did all the K-pop fans get behind and take back? Chat will remember.
Wasn't it wasn't it the Trump rally that they bought the tickets?
Yeah, they did that, and then something else. Can't remember.
But this is what inspired it.
It was another Twitter campaign to like flood a hashtag.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was sick.
It's very good. I like it a lot. Something that, Pete, I wouldn't like if I was a developer of VR. VR growth stagnates on Steam. Talk me through this one.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm just getting the scenes back together. The VR, obviously, is a niche market. Mm-hmm. It had something like, so according to stats that were released on Steam, like by a third-party source. But there was a surge in VR ownership amongst Steam users at the launch of Half-Life Alyx. Before Half-Life Alyx, it was something like 1 million. The launch of Half-Life Alyx in March saw a record gain of some 1 million more connected headsets. So to double across like a couple of months leading up to the launch of Alyx and post-launch, crazy.
Yeah.
The Road to VR is the industry watch that's done this survey, and it is estimating that there's 2.6 million headsets that are connected to Steam now, which was this was in July. It was 1.93% of Steam users had a VR headset connected, and now in August it's dropped to 1.7.
Yeah, right.
So it's actually taken a little bit of a dip. I don't know if people just put their headsets onto eBay after they've played through Alyx, but which I find interesting because the Oculus 2 is the thing that's enticing me the most, despite all the Facebook bullshit.
The Quest 2, you mean?
The Quest 2, sorry, the Quest 2. It's the right price point with the right functionality, and I think we're moving into territory where we'll see more and more competitors to the Quest at the price point. So, like, I think over the next couple of years should be, in my opinion, the sweet spot for VR for a broader market. I'm a pretty big VR naysayer, but like now I'm intrigued by it. And the Quest was the first thing that made me go, oh, okay, this is worth having in my house. I'll wait for a later model.
I saw that Spazros in the chat said this will be because there are now headsets right around the corner. But this is not headset sales. This is use of headsets.
Correct. This is
detected by Steam as being something that people are actively using.
Yeah.
I will say that after Gus was talking about Until You Fall on the show last Thursday, I was like, oh, that game actually looks pretty cool. And I ended up getting it and sort of, plugged in the Quest and updated everything and that sort of thing. And I haven't played it yet, but I will. And as I was going through, and I was like, oh, I'll check out the store. I've got the Oculus Link cable as well, so it means that I can play games from Steam. Like I can play basically all VR games on the Quest, which is awesome. And I went, I'll check out the Steam store and see what's on there. And I went, and the games were just the same games that were there 3-4 months ago when Alyx came out. There wasn't anything where I was like, oh, this is the must-have, whatever. And I like VR. I really do like VR. I think there are awesome VR games. I just like, I think that it's the same thing that everyone speaks about all the time. There's just so many barriers of entry to getting into it. But there's also just that thing of like, not only now are there barriers, it's like a catch-22. There's barriers of entry of getting into it. So therefore, developers are like, well, maybe we won't focus on making really interesting VR games. And then when you do think about hooking up your VR or even getting a VR in the first place, and you go, oh, let's see some interesting games, and there aren't any, then you go, well, why would I get the headset? So it just becomes this self-perpetuating thing. Is it Scardy?
Yeah.
Is Scardy standing up on hind legs?
Yeah, she's on hind legs.
It's incredible.
Scardy! Wait, no! Scardy, no! No, it's Stephanie, but she doesn't want to appear on camera because she's just come back from Pilates, so she's sweaty as. Oh,
Sweet
get away
Steph.
from me.
Gross. It's so sweaty. Everyone can see it. Oh, God. Oh, God. Did she cough?
I don't know what she did.
What
I
was
couldn't
that?
hear it because I had headphones on, but I'm sure you guys got a ear full of it.
We heard something awful. So besides Until You Fall, I was like, well, these are just the same games. So it is frustrating to see. Well, new headsets are coming out. We'll see if new games come out as well. But if they don't, then yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, if VR hasn't taken off in the way that the people wanted it to take off, then is it going to?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. But it's interesting because assume there are still 2 million people using VR. That's not a lot, but it is a lot when you go, okay, EA is going to release Star Wars Squadrons.
Mm-hmm. It's
a dogfighting Star Wars shooter.
Yep.
It's going to get the Star Wars audience interested. It's not going to get everyone who loves playing Star Wars games in because it's like, well, that's maybe not the Star Wars game for me.
Yep.
But there's 2 million people with a VR headset sitting on their computers going like, I need more things to play with my VR headset. And for a Star Wars game to have VR compatibility, you would think that would make people who own a VR headset go, cool, a new thing to play with my VR headset.
Totally.
So like that's a 2 million super active VR market. Like it's like people who want more, like you're saying, you go into the store, there's nothing else to play. It's like they're looking for things to play. So it's a thing that I feel like it's only really accessible to big publishers who have the money to go like, let's make a VR thing that works as an aside to the game. It's not the full game, but it's an effective add-on. It's still buggy in VR according to Pete Guns. So hopefully they patch that and fix it, because apparently the joystick control and stuff is also a bit buggy. But
or do the thing of like Resident Evil, where you just go, you can play the whole game in VR. And
that's awesome.
Which I mean, it's the Squadrons thing as well. But yes, you're right. It's these big publishers who can flex and just go, all right, well, we're going to add this as a way to experience the game. I would like to see more of that in this period. And I feel like it is taking longer than. Obviously, it's taken longer than VR enthusiasts would like for it to become to achieve world domination. And I think we've always had the same opinion, Nick, that it is never going to, but it is going to get to a point where it becomes affordable and effective. And if there's enough big publishers going like, well, we see that there's a really connected market, like niche market, and we can always make money off that part of the market. Who clearly have disposable income if they've got a VR headset. So it's like they'll pay to get access to Squadrons in VR, and they'll pay to play Resident Evil again in VR, just to have something to play on VR. So hopefully that's the buffer that's going to get us a little further up the way for VR to become more mainstream. But, and maybe that buffer is because Skiverick said, if adding VR functionality to games is not overly expensive, I'd love to see it in a lot of games that come out. I agree, and I wonder if the actual way to do it is go, well, and again, not a developer, so it's way more complex than what I'm actually saying, but go, okay, well, we're going to release this game, but we're also going to release it in VR, which doesn't change the way that you play this game. So it doesn't take advantage of all the things that really great VR can do, where you go, Half-Life Alyx was built for VR. So the entire experience is about all the things you can do with VR. But for something like a Resident Evil 7, is like the game plays really well in VR. It doesn't change anything about the gameplay, and it feels like you're playing just a normal game. But if enough big games have that, then you're probably getting enough people go, oh, it's like saying, do you want to play on a 4K TV or a 1080p TV? You just go, this is just a choice of how I want to experience this game. And then if enough people make the choice to experience that game in VR, then that gives enough justification to start making some really interesting VR games that are standalone, where publishers feel like, oh, no, we can actually put some decent money into this now because enough people have this headset, because we've released enough games that they just want to use basically as their screen a VR headset. So that's you've backdoored people into buying a VR headset as basically just a different kind of monitor, and now you can start feeding them really interesting gameplay that's built around just VR and not traditional games as well. So
Spazarus points out that Ubisoft are making Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Splinter Cell VR games. So it's kind of that's
totally
and big publishers tacking on big IP to like a VR experience, I think, is another thing that will help a broader audience go like, oh, but I could play like as an assassin. And even if it's not the most effective game, but I feel like that's been the problem at the moment so far. It's been like, oh, I can play as Batman in VR, and they play as Batman in VR, and they're like, I never need to do that again.
But when you play as Batman in VR, it's like, I can stand here, and then I can teleport here, and then I can teleport over here.
And you can never turn your neck.
That's it, yeah. And it's like, it's not actually the Batman game that you want to play. So if they release with the Assassin's Creed thing, I remember reading that. I don't remember the exact details, but like, just let me just play Assassin's Creed Vikings in VR. That's going to be, because also I've seen people say that third-person games in VR are actually really cool, because again, it doesn't need to be about the idea that it's immersive. Like you're the person, it's immersive as a screen experience.
Yeah, totally.
It's like going to the movie. It's like going to IMAX and just going, oh, this is a much bigger screen that fills my vision. I would love to play Assassin's Creed in VR if it's exactly the same game. I'm just using that as my screen.
I can't remember what it's called, but Gus has shown me a like side-scrolling platformer that you play in VR, and all you can really do is like imagine Donkey Kong Country, but you bend down and look closer, and you're like,
it's Moss.
You've got Moss, and you've got the little rabbit up in your face, and it's like, and it feels like there's atmosphere around you. Totally. There's light rays, and there's like little sparkles in the air, and it feels like a cool experience for a game that doesn't need to be in VR. Yeah. Hades would be great in VR.
Hades would be totally like these games where I just go, I don't need to. I mean, it's like Tetris Effect. Perfect example. Amazing game. Nothing changed about it in VR other than you look around and you go, oh, right, I'm in space. But it's a cool way to experience it because it's way more immersive. So, yeah, it's weird. Normally, I would not be advocating for publishers and developers to just tack on something. In the same way that multiplayer can feel like, well, you devoted all this time to multiplayer when you could have just made your single player way better, or vice versa. But here I'm like, no, this is actually a cool thing to do. I think that would totally be just, support it as a screen and see what happens. So we'll see what happens. We've got a few leftovers to just punch through things of.
I realized there's something not in the leftovers that I feel like is worth talking about. Just you reminded me of it when you when you said something just then, that Xbox announced yesterday that on the no, you do have it in here. You've got it in here as COD. No longer fits on an SSD, and you can't split components. So let's start with COD.
Sure.
Yeah. It's Call of Duty on PC will no longer fit on a 250 gigabyte SSD. That's fucking ludicrous.
Which is wild. The system requirements originally were 175 gig of free space. August update pushed it over 200 gig, and now it no longer fits on a 250 gig SSD with full everything. And that is an insane size of the game, but part of the reason is that the single player, the cooperative special ops mode, and the
zombies,
Warzone, and the zombies, like basically the entire COD package is included, and you can't separate it. Peter, why did that inspire something that you wanted to?
Because Xbox announced yesterday that on I think just on the new systems, you will be able to choose to install different components of the games. So you'll be able to keep the single player if you only want to have the single player and not bother installing everything else. And just install the components that you're actually playing, which will save so much disk space, which I think is really freaking important on these new consoles that they've both only got 1 terabyte internal and
or 500 gig if you've got the
or 500 gig if you go smaller. And that's Call of Duty is most of your hard drive.
Which is wild. That's just an insane size to have and constantly be updating and changing. Being able to split that, I didn't with that Xbox thing, because I know they've done that with. I think they did that with some COD, but this is all games that they're now officially saying it's multiplayer and single player.
It's for COD, and it will be for games that support it.
Right. Okay.
So they announced it alongside COD being like ridiculously huge. But let me bring up the tweet. I'm sorry I didn't prep this one. I think it was just.
And also, while you're on that, because I did see there was some talk with the new consoles as well that file sizes should be smaller, and at the moment. Some of the indication seems to be that's not the case, but some techie people that have sort of come out and said that the file sizes should be smaller because the way that the hard drives that they're using and the RAM that they have means that they can access things faster, and that a lot of the reason that modern games are so huge to install is that they are duplicating particularly textures to go, well... And again, don't know how this technically works, but like this is stored in this location and we need it in this location. And so instead of being able to access some files from here, but most of your files from here to play this level, then they go, okay, we're just going to take these textures, duplicate them and put them in there. And so therefore it doubles the size of those textures because you put it in 2 locations. Whereas with the way that the hard drives are built in these consoles, that they're way, way faster, you can stream in assets from all different parts of there. So therefore it should bring down the size because people are already supporting the kind of resolutions that these consoles want to be supporting anyway.
T59 says sequential reads are faster than random reads.
There you go.
The thing that spawned out of this for me is ludicrous, but I hope happens, is that and I don't think it will happen because it would only work on the Xbox. But for Xbox to release hard drives, like you buy Call of Duty and it comes on the hot swappable external storage device. So basically, we're back to cartridges. You plug in your Call of Duty hard drive, so you get like the 500 gig SSD that you click in, and it's got COD on it, and it has a COD label on it and stuff. That's what cartridges back. They're so cool.
That's fine, but then it's like you've paid $300 and whatever dollars it is, but it's also you now only have half the size of the storage that you just bought as well because it comes pre-installed with this game that takes up that space. Yeah, that's
but every game should be on it. Every game should have its own, and like obviously you should be able to delete COD from it when you're done. But like you buy it at like we're paying $120 for games this next generation. It's going to happen at least for the first year.
Yep.
The $300 version of the game is Call of Duty comes installed on this hard drive and it's got a COD sticker on it, and then Halo Infinite has its own one, and then that'd be super cute. They're way expensive, but it's super cute.
And themed looking. And you've basically gone back to this idea of, you're like, I don't want digital games anymore. It's like, but they are digital because they've just downloaded it and put it on here, and you can delete it from the hard drive. But you just buy the digital game physically, and it comes with a little themed thing. That's actually not a bad idea. Probably a good way to get people to buy those hard drives as well, because I feel like the price point on those is just so friggin' massive.
Yeah.
So that's COD. World of Warcraft Shadowlands is delayed. This is due to COVID. There's no huge surprises for the reasons. It was set to launch October 27th, and then Blizzard came out and said that they're going to have to push the release of that. I feel like Shadowlands people have been talking about Shadowlands for so long. I haven't played WoW in a while, but I saw stuff from this at the end of last year. They were talking about Shadowlands. So you're going to be hearing about it for a little bit longer. They are going to try and get it out by the end of the year, but they're not going to make the end of October release date. But they are announcing that beginning October 13, the pre-patch will come out, and they'll be able to start a lot of the revamped character leveling, new player experience on Exile's Reach, and a host of new character customization options. So you're going to be able to do some stuff, but you're going to have to wait a bit longer for the true Shadowlands experience.
WoW players hyped for Shadowlands. We don't have to spend long on this, but I'm so out of touch with WoW since we don't sit next to John anymore. Totally. He's just like, Legion.
Let me have a look, because and there will be Arcade Blob says I have some friends hyped for it.
Thursday's hyped, yeah.
Because there was just get me to expansions. What was the last one? Battle for Azeroth. So that was the one that people were not happy with. People liked Legion.
Yeah.
They didn't like Battle for Azeroth. So I think we're due for them to like it. I think, like always, I've definitely seen some people, which is just the recurring thing with WoW, where it's like, this is the one.
Every second one.
They need to nail this. They fucking need to nail this, or WoW is dead. And then they put it out.
They tend to nail it.
Copies. Yeah, exactly. But I
Shadowmar says he's got mates in the beta who aren't finding it fun.
Really?
That's not good.
That's not good. They've rolled back the level cap as well. It was 120, and they've pulled it back to 60 now. Like, they've revamped how leveling works so that you don't need to do this like crawl up to 120. Yeah, I know, it's very strange. I'll play WoW again at some point, and I'm sure I like every WoW expansion, I'll play 3/4 of it and then I'll fall off. Genshin Impact, Peter, Genshin Impact could be the biggest global launch of a Chinese game in history. Multiple publications proclaimed it to be the biggest international release for a Chinese-developed video game. A staggering number of pre-registrations, over 10 million, according to the developer MiHoYo. If you are not playing Genshin Impact right now, you are missing out on an incredibly fun game. I sunk like 5 hours into it last night. I went to bed at 1 a.m. just because I was playing from like whatever time that is, 8:30 or whatever. It is an incredibly fun game that came out of nowhere, that I was not expecting, that I feel like the entire Western world just got blindsided by. That's Not My Robot says it looks so bad, Nick. So no, it looks beautiful. It's just very anime. The game looks beautiful. It's just the design of it is just, it's kids in skirts. And yes, we have to just push through the kids in skirts to be able to get to what is a very fun combat system, super cool puzzles, really interesting group dynamic. This game is a blast. This game is a blast. Malachi Frost, I've just downloaded it because Nick tweeted about it. I'm addicted now. I'm playing too much, says A. Timothy. I've installed it, Nick, but haven't played it yet, says Made Muse. And I shouldn't have read that one out. You should read that one. It is absolutely a total joy to play. Peter, this game is rocketing up my most fun to play this year.
That's crazy. Like I've seen people play it on Twitch, and it looks like fine. Like all the gameplay just looks fine. It doesn't look like anything new. It looks like a bit MMO-y and then like a little Monster Hunty slashy, and then like you look at him go, yeah, and then there's a little bit of Breath of the Wild as you're like floating around and climbing towers and shit, yeah. And then there's that bit where you're like, you're not wearing pants, and it's like, this isn't appropriate.
What at what part of that, except for maybe the no pants thing, was that not something that you want to do? It looks a bit MMO-y in terms of like it's got a ton of systems and a ton of things to do. Monster Hunter, super fun. Breath of the Wild, phenomenal. This is all good tastes in a Genshin Impact ice cream cone.
Nick's finally converted to anime. You got him, ladies and gentlemen.
Anime is bad. But Genshin Impact, very good. And I did see a Washington Post article, nailed it. I was like, why is this all a big surprise? There's this Washington Post article about Genshin Impact that just says I should have actually had the line. That's right. Genshin Impact tries an interesting live service trick. Make a good game at launch. And that is probably key. That it is, as soon as you boot it up, it's just come out and it plays like a great great single player game. There's no sort of like, this will be good in a year. It's actually tons of fun now. So,
we've been talking about this for a little while. And for people who didn't see it the other night, here's some footage of it. It does have a really pretty art style. I don't know, this is just 12 minutes of gameplay. There's lots of food, apparently.
Technically, it runs really well. I've had no bugs. It's super smooth. On my widescreen monitor, it looks amazing. It's cross-platform on every... Anyway, this is all shit I've said before, but I just feel like this game... People aren't sleeping on it because there's over 10 million registered players and people are really loving it, and there's a bunch of
articles about... Does it have VR support?
No, it doesn't, but it should. I would play the shit out of this game in VR. Anyway, just get on it. Get on it, guys. What console should we play it on? You can play it on anything, That's My Robot. That's the point.
You play it on your phone.
You can play it on your phone. You can play it on your PS4. You can play it on your computer. And you can just jump between all three of those consoles and just pick up exactly where you left off and keep going. So it is, and yes, it is single player, K. Jerome. You can party up, I believe, but I never will, and I haven't. There's a baby here. But yeah, it's great.
Your baby?
Great. And it's also free. I should say it's free. It is free. It's free. You can buy currency to roll for characters, but I now have 8 people in my party, and I've never needed to spend a single dime of real world money. Oh, Peter.
Oh, baby.
Baby. Okay, Genshin Impact. There you go. I'll talk about it again in a couple of days. Last 2 bits before we finish. Looks like today a new Need for Speed Hot Pursuit remaster to be announced, Petey.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I saw like a still that people were like, is this official? And Need for Speed are always dumb fun. Mm-hmm. I question the need for Need for Speed in a post Forza Horizon world, but I guess it is fun to run away from the cops.
It is.
Like
in game and in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still on the run.
Have you ever run away from the cops?
Good question. I've run away from security, but not cops.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell that story later.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and if we haven't had a good driving game in a while.
Yeah, like since the Fast and Furious official release.
I mean, is it Forza?
Yeah, I feel
Horizon 4 that was the last one that wasn't like a sim that sort of
Yeah, I feel like Forza Horizon has kind of taken the space of being the arcade, have fun in cool cars kind of game.
Yeah.
That's not just like racing on tracks like GT or the standard Forza or then The Sims, Assetto Corsa and stuff. But yeah, Need for Speed Heat, Aussie Rusty says. Like, I always enjoyed those. Like, they had cool soundtracks. They were... I mean, I don't know why I enjoyed them. I can't put a finger on it.
It's just fun to run away from the cops, isn't
it?
That's actually the thing.
That's it.
It's actually this thing of like, you do something slow-mo, you hear a siren, the camera swings around, you see the flashing lights, and then it's just like, it's a race, but it's not a race. It's a race for your life.
Arcade Blob nailed it in saying cars go boom.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's effective.
That's right. So we might be seeing Hop Pursuit. I mean, admittedly, it's just a remaster of the 2010 game, but it's still something. I'll give it a bit of a play. And leaked Amazon, or now deleted, Amazon UK listing for the game had it coming out Friday the 13th November. So if it is coming,
too far.
I know it was too long, but. What happened is I did it for 2 seconds and I was like, this is a very fun noise to make. And I'm kind of nailing
it
whatever
tingly
this
on my
noise
lips.
is. Yeah, totally. So I was like, let's just keep this party going. And then finally, Payday 3 confirmed.
Yes.
Never played a Payday.
Payday 2 was the fucking bomb. It's just like a series of little heists with changing objectives and like it's only a few maps, but you run them a bunch of different times. You try to do them fast. You try to do them efficiently. You try to not get the cops on you because this isn't Need for Speed, baby.
Nope.
This is Need for Stealth. And so you the jewels might be in a different safe in a different room kind of thing. But I got vibes. I don't know if you saw this, Nick. We played Steph and Gus and I played, and Reese played Phasmophobia or whatever it's called, that ghost hunting game.
I did see that.
That had similar vibes of being like, you've got a team who have their own skill sets. In Phasmophobia, you have different like items that you carry into the house, and you can only carry a few. So it's like, it's fun approaching the same house in different ways and like finding the best ways to infiltrate and upping the difficulty. And Payday 2 was sick. We played that a lot with John and Mac. People will know Mac plays with Barjo, and Barjo streams a fair bit. Yep. And we played D&D with Mac.
Mac. Yeah.
Mac, yeah.
Good Mac.
Oh, man. So good. So good. So tense. I need more. I didn't realize I was so excited for Payday until I saw Payday 3 is coming out. And I'm like, yes! Give me that.
Awesome.
It's on Unreal Engine 4 or something, I think.
It is. It's interesting as well because I just feel like that game constantly just making money hand over fist. So it's one of those games that's just had the biggest tail that is exactly what you want when you make this kind of game. So I'm excited for a third one, I suppose, because this is my jumping in point. I now contractually have friends who have to play games with me. So that is something else that maybe you could, and hopefully it's coming soon. Is it coming soon? Let's hope it's coming soon.
Yeah, it's the tweet. I can bring the tweet up. The tweet up. It's from a new account that now has 100,000 followers or something like that. Sorry, I should just make a new scene with the freaking desktop one attached.
You should. It's very annoying that I have to fill whenever you do this. So let me talk about Genshin Impact.
No!
Another part of the game that...
Access, Payday Twitter man. Member count, 100,000. Request received. Accessing CrimeNet. Connecting. Online. Time leaked. Well done. Status Payday 3 confirmed. Design phase. Release TBA. Unreal Engine. And there's a spooky hacker man with gloves on.
Right. So does design phase means that we haven't started building it yet?
Yeah. Sounds like they just depressing. We should make that. And it's on the Payday 2 account.
We should make a law. There should be a law.
Yeah.
There should be a law. And that law should be that you're not allowed to tease your game until it's less than 3 months away.
I like that.
I just feel like what do you gain? You don't no one's buying,
and then you get crunch.
And then you get crunch, exactly.
If you
so
announce
no
a
one,
release date, you get crunch.
Exactly. And that you should not acknowledge that your game exists until it is basically going gold, because no one is buying your game 3 years before it gets released. And if they are, like, you're still going to get those pre-order numbers. And it does nothing other than people just like getting excited for something that doesn't happen for years. That's dumb. We should shorten that window. Hashtag shorten that window.
And we should get who's our back pocket lawyer? What does she say? Is it relevant? I can't remember.
Judge, that's the security issue.
That's the security issue. Talking about your games before they're ready.
It is. People might come break into your office and try to steal that game you're working on.
Job security as well. Job security.
You're not making any more money.
No.
By announcing it early. That's dumb. That's fucking dumb. Chat agrees. Chat agrees so hard. Oh my god. Chat is so fucking into this. I lost it. I can't remember what the noise was. So there you go. That's the news for today. All of that happened. Then we ended with finding, what's our judge's name? Judge.
That's the
Cortez?
security.
No. Judge Epic Apple. This is how I'll find her.
Judge, that's the security issue. Apple.
Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers. There she is. That's the security issue. Love her. Someone get a picture of her and make it your picture that we put down the bottom here. She needs representation on the show. She's a boss.
We could just put her in there.
We could put her in. Oh god, she looks like someone who is super friendly and lovely to be around, but also can just bring the fucking law down on you like it's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. It is just she is. Let's replace one of us with her, or maybe just add to the pool because I feel
volunteer.
Like yeah. That's you volunteer. Okay, great. I would love to do the game news with Judge Yvonne Gonzalez. All right, are we done?
Yeah, we're done. I reckon we'll back out, but I reckon let's raid I Am Fall from Grace, who's playing Among Us.
I think that's a lovely idea. I'm a big fan of her. And since she's playing Among Us, she probably won't be looking at the chat at all because chat would be filled with spoilers. So she'll find out about the raid later on. But I feel like if you don't know Grace, then this is a good chance for you to get acquainted with her. And Pete, we'll be back. Have a show. We've got a gameplay tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll have a news on Wednesday.
Yep.
We'll have a show on Thursday.
Yep. And who knows what else could happen? That gameplay stream was pretty unplanned.
Last minute.
Yeah. Which night was that? Saturday night. So yeah, we want to do more of that stuff when we're feeling up to it. So
yeah,
we'll be live randomly.
There you go. Just always keep our Twitch page open. And always keep the Patreon open, and always be subscribing to patreon.com/backpocket to become.
If you get something heavy and small, like go and find a dense rock.
Yep.
And just put it on your F5 key.
Do it.
So it'll just constantly refresh your page, and then you'll see when we go live. And just keep watching the refreshing.
And then come up with some Rube Goldberg situation, or maybe one of those drinking birds, and just put it so that the cursor is over subscribe, so that it refreshes the page, and then you hit subscribe on Twitch,
and then subscribe the next time, and then
and then as soon as it unsubscribes, it just resubscribes automatically. So once a month. So it means that you can't. You can't touch your computer, obviously, because you'll want to be doing work and watching videos and all that sort of stuff. So maybe you need to buy a second computer and set that up in the corner. You can use this original monitor that you currently have because you can just hook this computer up to that monitor, but then you unhook everything. It's on, but it's not attached to a monitor.
Yeah.
But you've got the bird is drinking, the rock is sitting there.
Yeah, so you do need a keyboard still plugged into it.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And you also need a mouse because the bird is hitting the mouse button because I don't think there's a button that you can subscribe unless you set up some sort of like macro that like puts on a digital mouse.
So all we're talking is you don't need a new monitor. All you need is one new computer and a peripheral set.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Go.
Is that so much to ask?
Yeah. And then after you've spent the $1,500 that it involves all of that, then give us $7.49 a month on Twitch by subscribing, or subscribe to the Patreon, or just take the money that you were going to use for the computer, give it to us on patreon.com/backpocket, and then go buy a second computer.
What about people who watch on their phones? Buy a new phone.
It's the same price as a computer.
And get a bird that goes like this, or get something that's got a finger on it that goes swipes in a cycle and just pulls the page down to refresh the page.
Stop
trying to come up with excuses to not be doing this. Fuck,
that's ridiculous. It's one of those perpetual motion machines where it does that thing exactly what you're talking about with, but you need it. Sometimes it needs to get hit to swing. So what you want to do is you have a finger on a swing. So I need you to chop off a finger and attach it to something that spins around. And then you get a bird. And then the bird just hits it. And that's the thing that makes it spin. Or it actually would spin that way. So it needs to be swiping up like that. But so the bird.
Put a bird upside down.
Put a bird upside down. Okay. Yeah.
Loki Cat says, what is this manic energy Nick has today? Someone help him discharge. And Loki, I'm not going to help him discharge. That's something he has to do in private.
That's something that if you want to help me discharge, join at the $250 tier on Patreon.com. I think there's a $100 tier open, maybe. So maybe you could join at that. Yeah, sure. For $100, you can help me discharge. That's fine. Actually, the way that I'll get a discharge is that I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the beach because it's a public holiday. So I'm going to the beach. It's time for everyone to say goodbye to Nick because he's going to the beach.
Bye, Nick Beachy. Psych!